Start with the finished picture. This Unsloth to Ollama setup is not another vague AI tools list. The outcome is a practical workflow someone can copy, a tiny instruction set, Unsloth for efficient fine-tuning, a GGF export, then Ollama serving it locally. In this video, I am going source first, then setup first. I will show what the stack is supposed to do, which official pages support it, what commands matter, and where the honest limits are. The promise is simple. If this belongs in your local AI workflow, you will know by the end without pretending the hard parts are magic. In the opening proof, the viewer should remember the chain. Raw examples become a small training set, the adapter changes behavior, and Ollama makes the result easy to run locally. If that chain is not visible, the video is just a GPU flex, not a useful setup. Fine-tuning beats prompt duct tape. When the behavior needs to stick, you do not want a giant prompt. You want the model to learn the pattern. The reason this beat matters is that the viewer needs a mental model before the commands. For Unsloth to Ollama, the setup is only useful if you understand what each layer owns, what output proves success, and what failure looks like. That is why the video keeps coming back to source pages, repo facts, and a visible workflow instead of just racing through install commands. For fine-tuning, the most important decision is not the model name. It is whether the repeated behavior is narrow enough to teach. If the task changes every day, retrieval or prompting may be cheaper. If the format is stable, training starts to make sense. Before touching the setup, I checked the official sources. Unsloth has 63,332 GitHub stars and license Apache 2.0. The sources used for this video are the GitHub repos, the official site or docs, and the runtime pages linked in the description. This matters because YouTube setup videos often repeat stale commands or marketing claims. I am treating GitHub facts, docs commands, and documented provider support as the proof layer, not random blog summaries. I am also separating verified facts from aspiration. The Unsloth repo and docs prove the install and training path. The Ollama step proves the runtime target. Evaluation still has to be done with your own prompts and data. Here is the setup path I would actually follow. The important commands are uv-env unsloth_env python 3.13, uv pip install unsloth, torch backend equals auto, model.save_pretrained_guf, adapter, tokenizer, Ollama create custom model, f model file. Do not read this as a magic paste block. Read it as the sequence. First create the environment. Then install the tool. Then run the smallest possible proof. Only after that do you scale up to real data, real documents, or a real model workflow. On a real machine, I would stop after each step and save artifacts. Save the base answer, the dataset, the adapter, the exported GGF, and the Ollama response. That gives you a rollback trail when something gets worse instead of better. Keep the first dataset tiny and boring. Start with a few dozen clean instruction examples. Prove the loop before spending GPU hours. The reason this beat matters is that the viewer needs a mental model before the commands. For Unsloth to Ollama, the setup is only useful if you understand what each layer owns, what output proves success, and what failure looks like. That is why the video keeps coming back to source pages, repo facts, and a visible workflow instead of just racing through install commands. A tiny dataset is not a production dataset. It is a smoke test. The first goal is not quality. It is proving that the tokenizer, trainer, export, and runtime all agree with each other. GGF is the bridge to local runtime. After training, export or quantize, create a model file, then run the customized model in Ollama. The reason this beat matters is that the viewer needs a mental model before the commands. For Unsloth to Ollama, the setup is only useful if you understand what each layer owns, what output proves success, and what failure looks like. That is why the video keeps coming back to source pages, repo facts, and a visible workflow instead of just racing through install commands. The handoff to Ollama matters because it turns a training experiment into something normal apps can call. If the model only works inside a notebook, it is still a lab artifact. The trap with Unsloth to Ollama is overclaiming. Small demos are easy to overstate. Check base model license, data rights, and before-after answers. A clean demo can still fail in production if the input data is bad, the hardware is too weak, the model license is wrong, or the output is not evaluated. So the honest rule is, prove the path with a small example, keep the proof visible, then decide if the workflow deserves more time. The danger is believing one good answer. Use a before and after prompt set, keep failed samples, and compare against the base model. Otherwise, you can train a model that feels customized, but is actually just over it to the demo. The verdict: use Unsloth when you need repeatable behavior, not just a one-off prompt that looks clever once. This is a strong TechWealth topic because it solves a real workflow problem, not just a curiosity problem. If you want the fastest useful takeaway, build the smallest version first, verify the output, then decide whether to deepen the setup. The sources are linked below, and the next video in this batch keeps the same standard: source checked, setup first, no fake proof. This is why the title is a setup path, not a benchmark claim. The valuable part is learning the loop: prepare, train, export, serve, compare. Once that loop works, bigger models become a resource question, not a mystery.